past several years. And we do need to have more meetings. We do need to talk this through more. You know, we appreciate each and every one of you and the job you do. You know, I go to breakfast with Matt Brower and Mike Davis at least once a month. And we have, I hope, Matt, I don't speak out of turn, but there's a little bit of a brotherhood there because we all have the same type of job. And we're a target for our community. Every decision we make is publicly criticized or at least publicly scrutinized, to say the least. And we have each other's backs. I enjoy those two guys. I enjoy being around them and learning from them. There's no reason why that can't extrapolate out to more of our councils and our elected officials. We're all here in this together. Let's get along. Let's support each other. Let's go to each other's public meetings and be a source of information and helping each other out. That's what we're asking for, and that's what our board wants, and I think that's what all of you want. And I'm willing to do whatever to lead the charge to make that happen.
And I appreciate that thought, because I think that's what we should be doing as a community, is coming together with that. And so that's, I'd like to put us back to what I feel is the real issue, and that is what we brought up, is that our taxpayers, I receive calls and I'm receiving information from my constituents who are very distraught of our tax rates. And that's really tough. So I understand, please let me speak. I understand the philosophical idea that we want to keep schools small. I understand that possibly you've heard from constituents that they want to keep the schools small. But I'm not sure that they've had proposed to them, this is what the reality is of staying small, is that you're going to pay a lot more. We could do $27 million to upgrade and expand the school as the school was intended to be done, or you can pay $150 million. There's a big difference there, or 120 is what the high school would be. So there's a big difference there. I know that you've said some research for smaller schools. I still could tell you that there's just as much research talking about the benefits of the larger schools for being able to provide those higher education classes.
We provide every higher education class.
I know, but I'm very concerned.
Every school in this state does.
I understand.
That's absolutely false.
I'm very concerned about being able to do that in both schools.
Absolutely.
So that is a concern. But I'm also very concerned about the fact that schools, the building itself, does not educate our children. And I understand that we want to find this wonderful balance between a school that is a school that would deteriorate quickly and a school that will last well. But we need to also take into consideration that building and that cost, and I was there to your tour, and I appreciated being able to go through those schools. I will tell you that my eyes popped, because I have never been in such nice schools. And I've come from several different school districts to be able to know what I'm talking about. Those are really nice school buildings. Now, I do know that we're not producing the ACT scores. I know that we have been told we're not producing the ACT scores to maybe warrant the price that we're paying per child. I understand that we're one of the highest in the state for per child that we're paying out for our students.
That's absolutely false.
Okay, well, I would love to see the differences there, because that's what they told us at this summit.
The school districts that pay the most are the small school districts. Go to Rich County, they're paying $24,000 per student.
I would love to see the numbers. All I can tell you is that's what we were told at the economic summit that we went to here recently. So that's maybe debatable. But I would just like this,
it's not debatable.
As we're working together to work together, I would like to see if we can't look at making sure that we're protecting the taxpayers, and that we're doing everything we can to protect those taxpayers, so that we aren't just putting that bill. I will just say it one more time: a building doesn't teach our children. The teachers teach our children. And if we were putting this bond to raise the price to be able to get these teachers in here to educate these children, I would be a lot more happier about that. I know we need the buildings. I know it's necessary. We have to house them. But I think we need to come together and we need to look what Mayor Johnson has said. Is there a way to build a school that might be a little less money? Or is there a way to house our children without having to build that school right now? I'm concerned also, I know we're in this great boom, but what if the economy falls? Then what are we going to do with our schools? And how are we going to continue to pay those taxes and pay off these bonds if the property values fall? There's a lot of concerns that I think we need to look at together and say, how are we going to protect ourselves from these future things that could possibly happen? So I think that I'm not trying to be controversial as much as I am trying to say, let's work together to look at this. We have some gorgeous schools. I'm not going to argue that for one single moment. But it might not be. I think that we are at the breaking point for our citizens in taxes. I don't think it's when. I think we are. And so I think we need to be very conscientious of that factor in and of itself. So as we come together, I think that's what we need to look for.
I think we've had public meetings that have discussed all of this. We've discussed the cost, the taxes, all of these things. We've discussed this in public meetings. Mm-hmm. Were you at the public meeting?
I didn't make it to that one. I had another meeting.
I think it's important when we come to these meetings that we don't revert back. Because as we have public meetings and we progress forward in the process and we answer the questions, we can come back 100 times and readdress somebody who hasn't done their homework. We can do that. I don't think that's the process that we're in. We can't deal with what ifs. We have 350 new students coming to our district this year. If we are in a holding pattern, what are we going to do with those students? If we're always in a holding pattern and we don't at some point step out and try to lead, what are we going to do? All the questions that you just asked, what about this? What if we have a recession? What if we have this? What if we have that? I hope the future school boards don't function on what ifs. I hope they lead, and I hope they provide opportunity. Because we have students who are getting educated right now. The what ifs, they're handled at the state level. The taxes, how are the taxes going to come in? That what if is handled at the state level. That's how school districts continue to function. And so when you come to these meetings and we ask questions, I hope that we move forward and that we don't come back. If we have public meetings and we answer all these questions and months later we come back and go back to those questions, how do we move forward?
Well, we're just now deciding whether to do the bond, right? And you're just getting ready to decide that. So this conversation is what's going to happen in the community for people who haven't been at all those meetings. We've been at a lot of meetings. And I apologize. I was at one meeting and I apologize for not being totally up to speed. But these are the questions that are just now coming to us because people are just going to start paying attention. When there's an election, it's usually after Labor Day when everyone's like, what's on the ballot?
And that brings up an interesting point. People are coming to you. Your constituents are our constituents.
Right.
And
but
so it's
people
not like
don't want
we're
to
talking
be
to different
negative. People
people.
don't want to be critical. So a lot of times you hear these kind of things. And so I don't know. Maybe you're not getting those questions. I think everyone heard the public meeting and it's over and they're all done with those concerns? Like you feel that everyone's okay with it?
No, I don't feel that everybody's okay, but I feel like at a county level, at this level, when we are making the effort to hold public meetings and do all of these things, and especially with the tax questions and the recession questions and everything else, as county officials, man, that's basic stuff.
We've had these conversations going since May, and we're in August.
Yeah.
And so we've had.
That's not that long though, really, in public and government. I mean, we've
But
been
we
so
heard
slow on
from our
things.
constituents that they're excited to have this on the bond. So,
And they'll vote, and that's
and they will vote, and they will tell us what they want.
Yeah.
So it's, to this point, since May until now, our discussion has been, what do we put on the bond? And you've seen the videos, and this is our proposal. And we've done surveys, and we take phone calls, and we have study sessions, and all kinds of information is coming in to give us information about what's going on with your constituents, your constituents, your constituents. And we're hearing really strongly that there is a need to provide a new building in Midway and in Wasatch County for the high school.
So on this chart from the state, it has Utah School District debt per capita. It has Wasatch as number 5 at 2,987. So when I added 150 million to that, it puts us around 5,200, which is second to Northern. And that's just a big number. I totally agree, these buildings are phenomenal. They're beautiful.
Where are we on the list of the fastest growing?
I don't know. And maybe it's all coming at the same time.
We're top.
Right, oh, I know where we are.
No, so those are connected.
No, I get it. So right now, it's all hitting us, right? Because all this supply, it's supply and demand. Like Mayor Johnson said, we only have so much control over what we can approve and not approve and zoning. So we have supply and demand issues. So it's all coming at once. So you're having to build a whole bunch of schools at the same time. But I think in the future, I mean, you look at Park City and see where we're going as far as like housing costs. And I don't think we're going to have 0.9. I think that number's going to go down because this is Heber City proper. A lot of these homes are projected to be second homes. You know, people who move in here that are empty nesters because people can't afford it. So I hope at some point this kind of peaks out. I mean, I don't hope because I think it'll change our community, but I think that's what's going to happen. So maybe we won't have this. I mean, I think this growth, you're right, it's all happening right now.
And that's what we're reacting to.
Right.
For the last 20 years, our district has grown an average of minimum 3% the last 20 years. And some years it's gone up as much as 6. So it could happen. It's the what if, we just don't know. We've got to make decisions based on what's happening.
And we don't build empty schools and wait for them to fill up. We know that the voters will not pass bonds till we have the students. If we didn't have West Campus, Clifton Oaks Intermediate School, that school, that high school, we would be in a real mess if we didn't have that school filled up
You
currently.
would have probably had to staff.
So we have, well, you see that the West Campus made it so we didn't have to add classrooms.
Right.
And you can still see
Which is
by the
great.
video
I think that's great.
what you're seeing in the commons area, in the cafeteria,
Yeah.
all throughout the rest of the infrastructure of the school. We were a single cone district for how many 100 years. And when we built that new high school, we were strongly criticized for building it too large. And here we are 9 years later, and it's full. And people are criticizing us for not thinking far enough ahead. It was never in the cards for a school board back in 2004 when they started talking about what we do to build a great big huge high school. It doesn't happen. My point is to Mr. Hansen's point, we only build after we can practically show the population is already here. And we do it by portables and by a West Campus that we hope will turn into a conference center more and more as we move in that direction. So
we're having that.
And I don't think, even if we get into some recessions, even if we get into some, for whatever reason, when our highest growth was in this county for students, right in the middle of the recession, 6 point something %. Don't know why that phenomenon was, but it was. And so building a second high school is a safe bet. It will be used and strongly used. I remember a letter to the editor about, check with Vernal about the empty high school they have. You're building this high school too big. That notion was gone the day we moved in.
Well, and I guess what Mayor Johnson, and I would agree with Marilyn as well, because of all of these schools coming at the same time, because of this growth, there's a lot of districts, I've lived in places where they had year-round school. People don't like it, like it's not ideal, but we have the Mercedes here. Like, we have the great buildings, we have great education, but there's a limit. Like we've got to decide what's the limit that people can afford, and I guess that's what the voters will decide.
There's also a limit to growth. And I didn't want to get this specific, man, but there have been several times in Heber City in past years where we've made variances and adjustments for higher densities. I remember a city council meeting where the residents of Mill Road came in here very upset because they had been promised phased densities up to Mill Road, and that was all tossed out the window, and an approval was made for high density right to Mill Road.
Well, and
that's one opinion. That's one thing that I heard.
No,
I heard about the high-rise buildings on the north side of the road that runs along north of Walmart that there was a variance approved for them to build those high-rise apartment buildings in that particular zone. I don't know, but the point is, you guys don't want us to build new schools. We want you to do everything you possibly can to manage growth. That's our message.
And to the point of being in a circle of elected officials. And it's difficult to say this, but I'm going to do it anyway. You have to stay in your lane. You have to be the expert of your county, your city, and your educational system. And the 5 of us have made a decision that this is something that we want to do. And it's our decision to make. And it's a hard decision, but based on what we've seen and what we have and what we're hearing from input from the community on a daily, monthly, semi-monthly, yearly basis, you know, to build a $30 million, couple 100,000 square foot Band-Aid is not the long-term strategy that the leaders on this board want to take. We want to plan for the future. And the future is another high school, and another high school, and another high school. And so, as elected officials, I hope you guys can see that we're in a tough situation, and you're in a tough situation. You have to make decisions about variances. You have to make decisions about annexations. You have to make decisions about open space. 5 of us, we have to make decisions about building schools and paying teachers and how to keep our kids safe. And so we're willing to do that. We're willing to put our necks out there. We're willing to have the public say no. We're willing to be not elected the next time around. But why do we do this? It's because it's the right thing to do. And we've thought about it a lot. And it's a long-term strategy to
I would like to say,
but it's a long-term strategy to a growth problem
now listen
that
to
all
me.
of us have.
Listen to me. My wife was on the school board for 20 years.
Let me finish my sentence.
And I'm not arguing at all. I agree with you. Don't get after me.
Well, don't cut me off.
Well, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
My sentence is we're all dealing with the growth situation, whether it's proactive or reactive, and we're all leaders, and leaders make hard decisions and have to stand by them. Period. Your turn, sir.
Okay. I'm not against your high school, your elementary school, none of that. My wife was on the school board for 20 years. I was on it for 4 years. I know what it feels like to sit where you're sitting. I realize that each of our entities have different issues that we have to face, and I hope you don't think that all of the criticisms tonight were just from the leaders of the different entities. It's not. It's not for me. Not at all. I'm very supportive of what you're doing. I know what it's all about. I realize that if we could do something about slowing down the growth or stopping the growth, it's not an easy thing to do. And I'm sure if you were in the position of a city council, you would feel the same way about it as I do. Everybody on the Heber City Council doesn't feel the same way as I do. And the same goes for Midway and Daniel and all of that. I don't want to get this is becoming somewhat of an argumentative thing. I don't like that. I don't see why we're arguing about such things as this in an interlocal meeting where we are sharing information and trying to help each other in our jobs. I'm sorry I cut you off.
I'm sorry for my argumentative tone.
Paul? I just had a thought. Dealing with the bond amortization schedule for the high school. Rather than issuing a bond as a flat amortization for the 20 or 30 years, is it possible to have on that step so that as your existing bonds are paid off, it steps up so the overall impact is flat for 20 years?
That's exactly what we do.
Very good.
I think that we're probably, sneaking up on time to go home, and we've had a good discussion tonight. We do have a couple videos that we would ask you to watch on our website. We'll talk about the bonds, talk about how, we all know, I think, in these elected positions and staff positions that the Utah tax code is written in favor of the taxpayer, as it should be. And we live in a very conservative state, and these things normalize down. And the advertisement and what has to go on the county tax notice makes it seem a lot worse than it is. And I know you can look at real numbers, and that's really what it comes down to. But they take every year as new growth comes in, that certified tax rate only guarantees the monies that went out the year before. And when that dip that's supposed to happen, we can tell you that in our truth in taxation initiative this year, we're just proposing, except for the capital, we think we've got to bump that capital a little bit for future school sites. But in the M&O, all we're proposing is to hold the rate steady. That's it. And what the law requires the language to read is if there was a deduction that took place in your taxes, then you have to figure that percentage based on what the deduction would have been. It's not truly a 20% raise from last year. It's simply, in fact, as we figure it, what did we come up with, Keith? 26%. About over last year. 6%. 0.6% over last year. But you have to figure it, you have to post it, and it has to go on tax notices based on some very specific code that tax rate is going up based on what it would have been after the normalization, after the lowering took place, if that makes sense. It's all very well explained in our videos. Steve, we don't want to tax the good citizens of the county out of business here. They're tough decisions. And I can just guarantee you that these guys take them very seriously. And we do have some bonds that will be going off in the next 6 to 8 years. And as it was mentioned in one of the videos, the high school in 09 went on at $78. It's down in the 50s. The bond, because of some refinancing we were able to do with the 2 new schools in the pool that just finished, went on in the $68 range, and it's down to 40 already. So we hope to get some relief that way moving forward. It is true that the new people that move in share that burden, and we get to spread it out a little farther than we did before. We take all those things into consideration. And, as these guys said, we're doing the best we can, and we feel like we're doing the right thing. So thank you for having us tonight.
I think there's another point. There are a lot of people that had their house reassessed this year that haven't had it in the past, and there's an acceleration on the assessments that are going on. And so if your house didn't get assessed, there's a good chance that your taxes went down on a dollar per dollar.
Everybody in this room and at the district office, we kind of looked into it. Everybody that did not have their homes reassessed, their taxes actually went down. The total dollar paid went down. That's correct.
And the school board doesn't have anything to do with whether your house gets assessed.
Yeah, we've been comparing, and my brother-in-law lives right across the street from me, and his was assessed a lot higher than mine was. His went up. So
well, we can fix that.
When it's my turn, I'll
Thanks
be happy
for the heads up.
When it's my turn, I'm happy to do my part.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost 9 o'clock. I'm going to propose that we wrap this up. Are there any dissenters to wrapping up this meeting?
We still have other items.
Oh, I'm so sorry. We really need to be done then if you have other items.
Yes, please everyone come next Thursday to our Truth and Taxation meeting. We'll have some great information and questions. It's a public meeting. You can ask questions and we'll answer them.
You doing it for the high school?
not in the street district office.
But there's great videos online right now.
Right now,
The two you showed.
truth in taxation and certified tax rate, they're really good videos.
Okay,
Answer all the questions.
30-second defense of Heber City's increase in densities. I think it's been tricky because we have spaces that could be developed as like quarter-acre lots, but there's no place for, and we call, there's affordable housing where there would be restrictions and government control, and then there's housing that's cheaper just because it's on less land. So most of the places where you see the teachers and policemen and people are building all the other stuff around, or cities because the prices are lower. So it's been some tough decisions for our council to say, do we allow these kind of mixed-use things where we have more graduated housing prices in a community? We're an urban center, we're a city, so we should provide housing for different, rates. So that's kind of been the thinking behind that. So some of that increase has been an attempt to try and create workforce housing in a city where it belongs. But it does sometimes cause more population, sometimes not, depending on the people that come. But that's why Heber's numbers are a little bit higher. But it's a constant debate on how we manage that. And I do respect for all you're doing. I was not saying your job is hard. And I was never trying to sound critical. We're just trying to understand. And with all the issues we're trying to understand, sometimes we're trying to get late and change. But I feel like this is progress and we can move toward better situation in the future. So thank you for coming.
And what you said, we understand and resonate with. You make tough decisions.
Yeah, like you are.
You have to.
Yeah.
And we're committed to work with you guys,
Thank you.
with everyone.
Appreciate it. All right, so thank you to Matt for waiting.